Hello, and you're watching a H.Tucker presentation. I hope you enjoy.
Roman culture was extraordinary. Some of their pastimes were a little eccentric. For example, one of their favorite pastimes was communal bathing. At first, the Romans bathed little. In the 2nd century BC, however, the Romans came into contact with the Greeks, who at the time had developed communal bathing. At first, the Romans considered it to be unmanly. It eventually caught on, though. The Roman bathhouses were often above a hollow room which was filled with burning wood to warm the water above. The bathhouses were filled with water from the irrigation systems. The men and women's bathing areas were separated. The Roman irrigation system was an engineering marvel. The Romans developed the arch, which they implemented into most structures, including the irrigation systems. The arch was designed so that the more pressure that was applied, the stronger it got. Another one of their favorite pastimes was gladiator fights, chariot racing, and naval battle reenactments. The naval battles were very rare, so they were a favorite. The chariot races could only be held in certain stadiums. The biggest of such stadiums was the Circus Maximus. Chariot races were often dangerous and gory. The most frequent fights were the gladiator battles. These events were the most violent events of all. The Romans saw nothing wrong in watching someone get brutally murdered. People had to pay an admission fee. The fights were often used as a social venue. There were not just fights between men. There were beast versus beast, beast versus man, trained animal shows, and execution by animal. In the man versus man fights, when a fighter was downed, he would plead for mercy to the crowd. The decision to live or die was ultimately given by the top-ranking official. A thumbs up would mean he lived. A thumbs down would mean he would be killed. There were 7 kinds of gladiators. In a fight between a man and a beast, exotic animals such as lions and tigers and bears were brought in from foreign countries. The Romans captured so many exotic animals that they began to disappear in some areas. In an execution by beast, the animals were starved for days before the execution, or they were trained to attack humans. Another important aspect of Roman society was the military. The Roman army had about 25 legions. Each legion had 10 cohorts, or 4,800 men. Each cohort was divided into 6 centuries, or 80 men. Each cohort was led by a centurion. The centurions had 5 ranks: Hastus posterior, Hastus prior, Princeps prior, Pilus posterior, and Pilus prior. The average Roman soldier was paid very little. Plus, the army put some money into a trust fund to protect the soldier's money from him. The higher the rank, the more pay you got. The infantrymen carried shields that were large and rectangular. They carried a sword called a gladius. They stole the gladius design from the Spaniards. They also carried a javelin called a pilum and a spear called a hasta. The pilum was 2 meters long and made of iron. The hasta was also 2 meters long, had an iron head, and a shaft made of ash wood. Their sword and dagger scabbards were intricately designed. The centurions often used speeches to boost morale. The infantrymen also carried slings that used lead bullets. These lead bullets were inscribed with a unit name for recovery. Cavalry units had long shields to protect themselves and their horses. They lacked stirrups because they had not been invented yet. Roman artillery consisted of the ballista, which could hurl stones up to 300 yards. It also consisted of the scorpion, the catapult, and the trebuchet. The Romans used many formations. These included the cavalry rappel. This formation was a square of shields with spears sticking out from all sides. No trained horse would run into that. The second formation was the orb, a circle of shields also with spears sticking out from all sides. The Roman army was arguably the best fighting force ever. The Roman economy was the weakest part of Roman society. It was largely built on slaves and agriculture. The farmers had to donate a certain amount of crops to the government. The Romans specialized in pottery and mosaics. They often traded with other peoples. They used gold, silver, and copper coins as currency. The coins had the current emperor or ruler stamped onto them. Historians believe that Rome's economy led to its downfall. If the Roman Republic existed, I would love to visit. Would you?
This has been a H.Tucker video, sponsored by Tiger and Walrus Wolf. We hope you enjoyed it.